We are dealing with one of the most fabled pieces of jewelry in history because it belonged to Marie Antoinette. But had it not been Marie Antoinette's, it would have been as fascinating because it is an absolute treasure of nature in its size and its luster and its color and the beauty of the skin of the pearl.
Sotheby's is the temporary custodian of some of the world's most rare, remarkable and coveted art and objects. In each episode, we'll be exploring the significance and journey of an extraordinary work told by those who know it best. This is The Specialist. On today's episode, the story of a pearl and diamond pendant that belonged to the Queen of France, told by Andres White Correal. The pendant was hidden, smuggled and reclaimed before entering the possession of the House of Bourbon-Parma, a dynasty tied to the ruling families of Europe. It would eventually become the star lot of the most important royal jewellery collection to appear on the open market. Andres is Sotheby's chairman of jewellery in Europe and the Middle East, and a leading voice in the field. Let's join Andres now with more.
Marie Antoinette's name has always been associated with the personification of royal extravagance and her indifference to the struggles of people. I believe that the flaws of Marie Antoinette, and as much as in the wonderful things that she created, make her a tragic but at the same time wonderful character. I think that people are fascinated by her also because of her dramatic fate. Her image has helped to define what the 18th century was. In aristocratic culture, at least. She had smitten the nation when she arrived. She was the most beautiful, the most gracious, the most elegant, and she represented more the French than any other French person. And then when she fell out of grace, she was referred to as l'Autrichienne. And then with her dramatic face comes, of course, the legacy of a person. And in her case, she's the symbol of the fall of the Ancien Régime. It's this complexity of the character what makes anything that belonged to her or what she touched so poignant and so incredibly rare. Obviously, Marie Antoinette was then, and is nowadays, a cultural icon of every kind. She's influenced fashion, art, hairstyles, extravagant dresses and gowns, which represented the refined styles and lifestyle of Versailles. Even in colors, la couleur puce was invented for her, and she's still a character of today in film and art. And this includes her jewelry as well. This incredible pearl and diamond pendant. It had a beautiful bow on the top, which is also a defining symbol of Marie Antoinette's reign. Everything had bows and there were garlands. And bows mean love and bonds and symbolism. And she used them very much in that way. So the pearl was suspended from a diamond set bow, and on the top of the bow there was an oval, beautiful diamond. Nothing could be more Marie Antoinette than that. Nowadays, with cultured pearls, they can go to 20 millimeters or 22 millimeters, and they're fabulous in size. This one was far, far, far bigger. To have a perfectly formed pear-shaped pearl of that size, it's mind-blowing because of the size of the actual shell where it must have grown and for the years that it was inside of that shell. So from a natural history point of view, it was a treasure already in itself. It was like a teardrop. It didn't have more to the front, more to the back. It was a 360 perfection that was suspended forever in time. It wasn't a dull color of a pearl. It had shine and it had orient and it was just magnificent. The Bourbon-Parma are a family that is very important because of the connections to different European thrones. There is the angle of the Marie Antoinette world. The daughter of Robert of Parma gets married into the Habsburgs, and this is how they are intertwined to the House of Austria. Then they have relationships with both houses of France through marriages to Bourbon in France of Naples and to other French branches of the Bourbon. So the Bourbon-Parma are still now in the 20th century recognized as a sovereign ducal house without territory. They have presidents over many other kingdoms and principalities in Europe, even if they don't have land. One of the most difficult parts in selling royal and noble jewelry is how can we really be sure about the provenance of the objects. When we found this incredible Bourbon-Parma treasure trove of jewelry, we didn't know even where to start. Thank God the Bourbon-Parmas had this inventory of the jewelry and the story of the jewelry attached to the item. So they would describe the item and its sizes and its form, but then they would also speak who it had come from. And when it was given to this certain person to read these inventories, it's like reading the history of Europe. But the most important part of the provenance of this pendant starts much earlier than when the Bourbon-Parma start to inherit it through generations. And it is how it escaped revolutionary France from the Tuileries Palace. Marie Antoinette devised the way to smuggle the jewelry out of the Tuileries, sewn into her used clothes that were going to the wash. She, with the help of Madame Campan, who was one of the last loyal people who were living with her from her previous court, they had them sent to Brussels. In Brussels was the former Austrian imperial ambassador to France, who was called Count Merci d'Argenteau, because of the revolution, had to leave France, and he was stationed in Brussels. And Marie Antoinette thought, the only person who's worthy of safekeeping of my jewelry at this point that I trust intrinsically is Merci d'Argenteau. So she sent a letter one way, and in the letter there was an inventory of the things that she was smuggling out of the palace, with her diamonds, this pearl, and 2 ropes of pearls that she had, pearl earrings. I think that she had saved already from all the other ordeals these jewels as probably the most special things to her. If I close my eyes, I can see them with the light of 3 candles trying to sew these things into pieces of cloth so that they could not be seen when they were taken out. So the first inventory from her hand arrives with that letter to Brussels. Merci d'Argenteau immediately sends those things to Vienna, to the court in Vienna, in the Hofburg, to be kept for Queen Marie Antoinette. So he makes a second inventory. It is exactly the one that we can trace. From an expert point of view, let's say, to determine the provenance, a bulletproof situation. It was perfect since the moment they left the Tuileries to when they arrived in Vienna, when they were restituted to her daughter, the daughter of Marie Antoinette, her only heir. And since she didn't have any children, how she divided them amongst her nephews by marriage, and how they made it into the Bourbon-Parma family, and through generation and generation, they were inherited. The collection of the jewels of the Bourbon-Parma family were sold at Sotheby's Geneva in November 2018. The auction comprised 100 lots from the Bourbon-Parma family collection, out of which 10 were from Marie Antoinette. 5 million was the estimate, 5 to 7 million. The star lot of the sale was the pearl and diamond pendant, estimated 1 to 2 million. When we started the pearl pendant lot, I had made known to the auctioneer that my client was interested in bidding on this lot. It started bidding at 700,000, so it was 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, until 12 million, which was already 12 times the low estimate. And now I'm becoming really aggressive. I don't let the person breathe when she said bidding. He doesn't even get it for 1 second, because I'm bidding over him. And at 27, which the next one's 28, this was really the moment of my life, when with all poise and calm, I said, "Sir, would you take 32 million? That was 6 million more of increment that I should have said, more than 18 times the high estimate of the pendant. And this is how we finished it. The collection of the jewels made 53.5 million Swiss francs, and 45 million came from Marie Antoinette. So that's come to be known as the Marie Antoinette effect in my world. It was fantastic to see the importance of provenance, to attach such numbers to jewels that otherwise would have made much less. It was completely attached to the character of Marie Antoinette. It set a record for any royal jewelry auction, surpassing the previous benchmark of 50.3 million. It's not only one of the most special objects I've held in my hand, it's not only one of the most expensive objects I've sold in my life, but I think it was probably one of the highlights of my career. It wrapped my passion about history, my knowledge about jewelry, and the auction. It's one of the most fantastic things that has ever happened to me.
Thank you for joining us on The Specialist. This has been brought to you by Sotheby's Financial Services. SFS offers asset-based loans to unlock the value of your fine art, automobiles, and other luxury collectibles. To step further into the world of Sotheby's, visit any one of our galleries, which are open to the public. Go to sotheby's.com to find out more.